Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend today. It's deeply appreciated. We have a QA site or a chat site where you can ask any questions of me as we go along. So don't hesitate to do that. I may fumble a little bit trying to answer them, or I may just answer them in public. So TowWorks is a software as a service, subscription-based company. Our subscriptions are based upon the number of boats and barges you have, not individual users. The only time we go by users is if you're a third-party shore anchoring company. TowWorks is hosted on Amazon Web Services. There are multiple backup locations, so you're not going to lose your data. You will always have access to your data. It's a very secure environment between the Amazon Web Services, antivirus, and other firewalls and stuff, and the TowWorks internal stuff. Your data is safe and secure. In the last 2 years, we've spent over $200,000 on intrusion testing, and have successfully passed every test that was tried. And I do want to do a sidebar here. This is not an invitation for the hackers out there to try and access our data, please. We're located, you have either a private server or you are on a shared stack. The shared stack is standard. If you want a private server, we can provide you one. There's no data bleed across the site. So even if you're on a shared stack, your data is your data. No one can access your data unless they have user names and passwords to get into your site. Your data is also your data. If you should ever leave TowWorks for any reason, the data you have on here will be downloaded, and you can have that data. Today I'm going to show you a few slides that lay out some of what we have to offer in our modules. There'll be some actual screenshots of the features. This is in the interest of saving time. If you have any questions, maybe hold them to the end, and I can answer them there, or you can contact me after the show, and I'll be glad to show you how anything works. We can set up a demo or whatever. That's how it's going to be there. TowWorks is role and permission based. If your role doesn't have the permission, you're not going to be able to access any of the data, or typically you're not even going to be able to access a menu item. If the menu item's there, if it's not turned on for you, you're not going to be able to access any data under that. We do demos. We set up demos for companies individually. Our website has some information. There's no demo on the website where you can log in and test anything there. While we do provide, a very user-friendly and intuitive software package, it can be very frustrating if you haven't received any instructions, basic instructions. So we don't provide that option, because all you're going to really do is get upset and frustrated. Again, on the roles, we start out with roles based upon our experiences of what those roles typically need, and then we modify those roles from there based upon your feedback. You will also have the ability to set these roles and permissions once your site is set up and your people are trained. We try to have a super user for every individual company, at least one. For tier one, basic support, internal support, because somebody may be doing something and forget how to do it. That way, you have someone on site that can help you out with the basic problems. We do have a support ticket system, so your super user and the individual users can track issues and follow the statuses of their individual issues or problems or support requests. Our support team is based out of Mississippi. We have people in Louisiana. The corporate office is in Lake Jackson, Texas, and we have a separate developer office in near downtown Houston, where all the developers hang out. The process, if you were to go with TowWorks after all the demos and everything's there, we do a 2 to 3 day on-site discovery meeting. That's where we gather your info. We use it to set up a staging site for your site development and testing. Once we're happy with all the data on the staging site, we will roll into typically it's a 4 to 6 week CRP or conference room pilot. It's a series of meetings to show you your site, start training. We train the trainers, do a combination of on-site and online meetings. We complete the site setup, load your data, All configuration and testing is done prior to go live to make sure everything works, all your processes work in there. We will also, during this time frame, discuss any custom requirements and set a timeline for their development should they be needed. And then we will map out and set up any third-party integrations for accounting or other things as we go forward. Once the discovery and CRP are complete, we set a date for go live. What we like to do there is we like to mirror your current system if you're using something, or even if you're just using spreadsheets or anything. We like to mirror for a week or two before we actually turn off what you're doing and do everything in TowWorks. That way we confirm and validate that your process and workflows are correct within the system. Then we will mutually set a date to turn off your current system's operations and get you fully integrated into TowWorks. Once your production site is set up and operating properly, we will copy that site with the current data that's in it and create a QA site so that any new upgrades and features can be tested on that site before we publish them to your production site. The goal is to keep you up and operating as solidly as possible with no interruptions, no system outages or problems. And that's what the QA site does. Okay, let's start the slides here. Again, we're software as a solution. We currently have over 80 companies using our products, from small mom and pop single boat operations to major corporations with a couple thousand pieces of equipment. We're being used to manage 800 plus boats and over 7,500 barges. We're used currently in the United States, Canada, Colombia, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina. We can translate and show in other languages if anybody's interested in that. Our operations for shore-based personnel, our shore-based operations, we have office traffic, there's customer traffic, we have fleet diagrams, snapshots, orders, trip boards, different views of the boat log. You provide your unit tow orders for the liquid guy, there's vessel mapping, customer portals, a number of different ways to access the data. This is an example of the traffic tree that you would see. And it's just basically shows, stuff on storage, waiting a boat, waiting to clean, waiting to load, as you go along. And this shows everything, all your units that are out there. The trip board is just a real quick snapshot view of the vessels, the location of the vessel, the date and time, the location was published. It'll show, any loads, empties, what barges are with them. Doesn't matter if it's liquid or dry cargo, it'll show. And, it shows is it up northbound, southbound, and the river, UM is for upper Mississippi, LM lower Mississippi, and such. The fleet diagram here, we diagram this out. This is very useful for our fleet customers, but also for the major boat companies. It tracks all the fleets and will show where your equipment is. The vessel map is just that. It's going to show once we get you start using your AIS info or the Rose Point Relay, you'll be able to see where your vessels are at any given time in real time. It updates every 5 minutes. You'll be able to follow a vessel track and things like that. The vessel metrics and reports, you can get operation time, trip cost summaries, utilizations, fuel. It's very useful, the core report, and fuel excise tax reporting. It tracks where you're at, the different tax zones, and creates a report for you. We also operate within VGP exchange reporting, and we can also build custom reports for you. Here's an example of event report. It shows, percentages of use, is it working versus idle, standby time, by date. It's an example of one of the reports we have in there. This here is the distance traveled. It shows each boat is color coded with the route. It's showing each boat the different color codes and everything here. And you look over to the right, you'll see it shows exactly how much distance they made by day. Vessel-based operations is comprised of vessel logs, tow planners, tow diagrams, engine room logs. There's a task calendar, fuel on board, fuel use, safety meetings, drills, inspections, a number of things, really. Here's an example of a vessel log. Everything that they do is logged down here. All the events that they do, pretty much point, click, and verify. We try to keep the wheelman's typing time to a minimum. Sometimes they can put some notes, but everything is typically handed out. They're just verifying the times. They're boat drivers. They're not secretaries. Here's an example of the user interface. They basically come up here, click the event. It'll bring this interface, and they have different forms and events based under these tabs. An example of the inspections that come through. This is showing inspections with fail reason, all the various inspections that were done and the answers that were received that are wrong. Again, the vessel has full access to all of these things. Voyage planning is very big in the towworks world, especially, now with sub-M and everything going, and those of you that are involved with SIRE reporting. Our voyage planner works in conjunction with your AIS or Rose Point feed of positions and everything. It populates your routes, locks, bridges, everything you need to complete a successful, actual nav assessment as required by the regs. It's supplemented by any watch change checklist, pre-departure checklists, pre-sail checklists, anything like that you may need. The link to those forms would be located at the top. It would open the form for your crew to fill out. As you see here, it shows the local notice to mariners. These are updated constantly along with the weather every 15 minutes or so. You also have the ability to add internal notices where if there's a location or anything there, it's kind of a geofence operation where if there's points where you want 2 wheelmen or to be careful or shoaling's been reported internally, you can create those notices, and if someone's transiting that area, it will show up for them. Here is a fleet diagram as used by the boat. This can be turned on. Some people want it, some don't. Just shows where the barges are at so the people know. And if you're actually keeping up, it'll show exactly where they are in the tiers of the individual fleets. This is part of the new Ship Assist tab. This shows one of their jobs, the tug activity, shows what they're doing, where they're doing. This is how they track their time and everything for billing purposes. Under logistics, you have your freight contract management, tracking and position reporting, draft calculators, strapping calculators in there, demurrage engine, asset status tracking. There's a number of things you can do for logistics within the system. This would be for Ship Assist. This is an example of the job board for your operations guys so they know what's upcoming, what's pending, what's active, and everything there. For the inland guys, there's a number of different views. You can contact us and we can give you some good examples. Here's another for a planning tool for shoreside showing different job tasks. It's a Gantt chart for that, so you can actually see where you're tasked out to do as you go along. Integration, we have yet to find a accounting software that we can't work with. We work with Great Plains, Workday, QuickBooks, SAP, Oracle, and others. We do GL export, AR exports, AP exports, payroll there. We can do traffic, towworks to towworks. We have BargeX integration. We can do custom and third-party integration, customer portals. We import Rose Point or GPS information into the system to be able to track your vessels. System monitoring integration is we're working with Navis International and IO Currents currently to import their automation processes to fill out engine room logs based upon the pressure and temperature readings through the instrumentation that's actually mounted on the equipment. It's very useful if you're running unmanned engine rooms and you want to keep track of everything. A number of different ways we can integrate this data. Billing, you can bill by flat rate, mile rate, millage rate, contract rate. We can do hourly jobs, contractual jobs. Fleet billing, you can switching, fleeting, cleaning, handling, any number of different types of situations for a fleet. I know we have one customer that 1 minute the boat captain and deck crew, they're running around in the fleet. The next minute the boat's tied up and the captain may be in the warehouse running a forklift, the deckhands out cleaning a barge. We have ways to keep track of their time for that. built into the system already for those of you who do the type of mixed operation that's represented. This is just an example of a contract set. You setting up a new contract. You do general information, shipment information, cargo information, demurrage rates, any limits, commitments, boat times, fueling locations, add notes and everything for as you go along. Billing again, the other section we can do demurrage, unit tow, day rates, unit rates. We also have rate escalators. The data is provided by you. We set up for water conditions or whether, high water, fuel surcharges, other things there. We do P&L reporting. We have one customer that pulls a P&L report on a daily basis of over 3,500 barges every evening to see what's going on with their equipment and fleet. A number of different ways to do this. We also do credit rebills, things like that. All the billing is operated. We have what we call the invoice buckets. The first step on the 2 invoices is done by your dispatchers or whatever the invoices are created. Your dispatchers or whoever the initial reviewer approver is would come here. They would review it. When they approve it, it would go to the in review section for their supervisor or the next level, be it accounting, whatever, to say, yes, this is okay. Then it would go to the approved bucket for the accounting guys to actually create invoices or do your exports and everything there. If you have stuff on hold, it would come into this. But then you do batch uploads, batch edits of all of this information to send out to your accounting software to actually create the invoices and send to your customers. For maintenance, you have shore-based and vessel-based. We have work order management. You've got planning and scheduling for maintenance. You keep records, reporting, vessel credentials, required maintenance tasking, critical equipment. We have spares tracking from shoreside, daily, engine room logs. You can track service life there, scheduled versus unscheduled maintenance. Everything that you would normally do paper-based, we can do it, keep track of it without tons and tons of paper. The advantage here is literally we can track every nut and bolt on a boat or barge if you wanted to. Don't really know why you'd want to, but it's available. This here is an example of our maintenance plan. This is showing we set up maintenance limits by the asset itself. So on this boat, the port generator set, we've created a component tree showing all the assets. We've associated those assets with the boats. This is for this individual boat. Shows the rule every 500 hours of service is done, date it was last completed, how many hours since the last time it was done, hours remaining, and then the total hours on the piece of equipment. The execute early is if you get a bad oil sample or there's some damage or something to the engine, repairs are done where you have to change the oil and everything. You click execute early, it will reset the accumulators. When you're ready to actually service the task, the execute task will come on, and that way the crew knows that, hey, it's time to do this. You come into the maintenance dashboard. This is useful from a shoreside perspective. Shows the vessel's name, location, date last. It links you to the maintenance plan. It just shows you. It will show open tasks, any open issues, any overdue issues that are in the system. It shows credentials. It'll show, that they're overdue. These were set up so we have something to show you. Shows, in the 90-day expiration window. And that are, still valid, no expiration yet, but it does show the expiration date there. You can also click the link on one of these and it will pull that credential up for you to look at. This will show for all the vessels, all your barges, everything in the system. It's the open issues, open tasks is a great way to replace your shipyard repair list because this is alive that's constantly being updated. Here's an example of an issue that's been created. Shows the type of issue it is, what your priority may be, what the status is, and these are all settings that you do. You set the issue types, you create the issue statuses. We set you up with the basics, and then you go from there and you create all that. It shows the date, the issue, what the asset is, any estimated closing date. The thing about TowWorks is if you have the yellow background like you have here, you have to have data in that field. If there's no yellow background, it's optional. So you can use this as needed. This shows the description. It's linked to an asset component right here. It has child tasks. This is where you actually assign it to somebody to accomplish what you want done. You can link, it'll show if an inspection or compliance form caused the issue. We can auto-generate issues based upon expected answers. The object log shows anytime anything, anybody or anything is done. If you need to make a note, you create this. Your mechanic goes out, he saw something extra, he can add a comment, whatever. And you can also attach pictures, documents, receipts, things of that nature. The maintenance task list is just that. It's a list of tasks. It shows to what asset, what the task number is, component, the description, and the basic date times. This way you have all your information right in front of you. And then you can filter by specific boat, task, schedule, task type, and everything, and create custom filters. Here's an example of a component tree. It shows, this is towboat, shows the linked assets. And then we actually go down into what the components are, as you can see here and here. Once we set that up for you, we link all the assets. You can turn them on, individuals, items. This boat has a oil water separator, that one doesn't. You can turn the individual components on and off by vessel type and vessel. For employee credential tracking under compliance, we track their credentials, training. We use e-signatures. Everybody receives a 6-digit PIN number that you provide. You figure your format for that. I do ask that you don't use birthdays because they will be duplicated and there will be issues because of it. You can track safety meetings, drills, inspections. We have recurrences on our compliance forms where you can set up a schedule. Every Thursday you do safety training, compliance, whatever you want, drills or anything. You can set all that up on the recurrences. We're working with some of the LMSs out there about integrating the training your guys do offsite into our system. You do process your documentation, conformity, non-conformity reporting, the auditing, the internal and external audit tracking and reporting is a very useful feature for you guys, especially the liquid guys that use SIRE in addition to, your sub-M reporting requirements. It's an example of your employee credentials. This is your employee. This shows, this is an employee folder, excuse me. This shows any and all inspections, drills, training, anything this guy has done. It typically shows the last 10 days of the training. If you need more in-depth, we can pull it up to show everything he's done. Then if there's any specific events, any traffic, his pay, his position, you can track them from cradle to grave, everything they've ever done for your company, all the positions they've had. This is another view here. This is where the credentials are tracked. You set your credentials. You can attach an actual picture of the document. This is available on the vessel itself. They can click to show if somebody's in bed and somebody needs to, you got an auditor on, he's done at 7 a.m., your off watch crew's in bed, he doesn't want to wait around until watch change. As long as he trusts you and the documents are kept up to date, you can prove that they do have the document, and go from there. There's also an object audit at the bottom. Everything that's done in TowWorks, there is a record. You may not think it is, but there is a record. It will show you what was done and who did it and the date. So if someone's in there changing something, they cause a problem or anything or bad information, you can track back to see what's there. You can list their dependents, the tankering zones for third-party stuff. You can also attach files, reviews, ratings, evaluations, medical records, physicals, anything you want can be attached. The employee credentials report, this is an example here, shows all your employees, all the credentials. You can filter by type of credential, expiration date, the groups, who issued it, a number of different things. This basic report shows, you've got your name, the credential, who issued it, the date it was issued, the expiration, which is very big, and also shows how many days you have left on that credential. As you see here, you got the different colors, like this red shows that this one's expiring within 30 days, and it shows, you have exactly 30 days. This one, you have 5 days left. It shows this. It will also show on the vessel for the vessel crew credentials. So the vessel master also knows what's going on with this. Here's an example of a training form here. It's a onboarding statement where you do your training, new person training on board a vessel and all of that. You see the spot where we can have the person being trained signature, and the master of the person training can also put their signature to say that I'm the guy that did this. You can add notes. These forms are created by you. You can change them in a heartbeat and go on. The one big advantage here is with the forms, you're never going to have a 10-year-old form pop up in your system again. The audit trail, if you're doing third-party audits, this is where you would track them. You can pull all your data, as you can see here. You have asset credentialing, works just like the personnel. This is for the vessels, COIs, DOIs, COFRs, anything like that. You can also attach documents to your compliance form. Shoreside, you can attach a policy to this drill so they can open this up to see what your policy is on performing drills and things of that nature. And then the vessel itself, when they're completing the form, they can attach a file, pictures, documents, and things of that nature, which is very useful. Vessel-based compliance, we have a boat dashboard for tasks. They have access to historic forms, boat issues, vessel crew credentials, crew drill meeting, and voyage planning. Here's an example of the task dashboard. Shows overdue tasks. The daily tasks are broken out calendar base. You would click on the tab. It would open the form for them to complete. And it shows issues against the boat and any equipment that may be with them. You have boat historical forms. It's going to show every form a boat has ever filled out. They can pull it up, filter for the different types to prove to an auditor, inspector, surveyor, Coast Guard, or anybody that they actually did what they're supposed to do. The vessel crew credentials shows the vessel credential, any barges that may be in tow's credential, and then it shows your captains and the crewmate that happen to be on board, shows their credential. It shows if something's expired. It shows the date. It'll tell you if it's expiring in 20 days, whatever. Typically, it'll pick up at 90 days and start counting down and showing that it's expiring there. If it's highlighted and underlined like it is here, you can click on this and it will actually pull the document up for you. If it's grayed out, it just shows the expiration date. Very easy to use and manage shoreside. This is an example, again, of the voyage plan. Shows some stuff. This shows the bridge. These charts and everything are pulled directly from NOA, Coast Guard sites, Corps of Engineers, so you see exactly what you see in the actual chart book. Human capital, employees, applicant tracking, timesheets, payrolls, a number of different things. Here's an example. The top of an employee file, it shows their signature, PIN number. You'll notice we have an original hire date, last hire date, and termination date. As we know in the marine industry, sometimes it's a revolving door. Again, yellow items are needed, but you can also put a lot of personal information, emergency contacts. You can track veteran status, EEO group, gender, a number of different things for EO reporting and things like that. Here's a crew schedule. It shows the crew that's currently on board the vessel, the crew that's off, and the little warning here, if you were to cursor over it, it would pop up and tell you what credential, like, or whatever the note is for that. This is basically that credentials are about to expire. And it'll give you those credentials. This is very useful if you're trying to put somebody on a boat that doesn't have a credential or has an expired credential. Here is where you do your crew scheduling. It's the details. You can change. This is how you add someone to the crew. It's just a drop down, add, boom. Everything here is drop down. The boat, the person's name, there. It's all taken from within the system. We're about to run out of time, so I'm on the last slide. And this is the payroll checklist. This is where somebody shoreside comes in and validates, yes, this guy worked. Because as we know with automated systems, you're in there working. The guy's yanked off a boat at midnight last night, but nobody remembered to go back and change the payroll status or change what vessels he's on. This way, somebody shoreside is manually overseeing everything within the system. Please contact us for any on-site discussions or anything like that you want to do. We have a booth come on board, ask some questions. I'm available for phone calls. We can set up individual demos or anything that you need. Just let us know. Oops, I got a couple questions on the QA. There's one about tug fleets and internet connectivity. We actually have an offline boat console that's very helpful here on the rivers. We have a number of customers that's using it now. It basically caches the data on board the online computer and keeps it for you. Next time they get a signal, it will go back and upload with the server and everything. And we're working on an offline boat console specifically for the offshore vessels that will keep their data for months at a time. I'm not sure if I'm out of time or not. I think I'm about to run out of time. Again, don't hesitate to contact us. Stop by the booth, drop a note or anything, give a number, whatever. We'll contact you back and answer any of your questions and also set up a demo for you. Again, I want to thank you for your time today. I'm about to lose. I think I am out of time. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the show, and don't hesitate to stop by the booth, drop us a line, or ask us a question. Thank you.